Please. All right, so we are on, and welcome to the Resourceful Child series, where we are looking at natural versus logical consequences. It's a bit hot in here. Please just hit that button for me so that we can get some cold air here. All right, I just came back from picking the children from school, so it's I'm sweating from that journey. All right, so let's jump into the conversation for today. We have just about 20-30 minutes to do this. Now, often when we hear about consequences as regarding parenting and, of course, our children, in many cases, what comes to mind is, what do I need to do to make this child feel bad or feel, sorry about what they have done. Now, in many cases, punishment is the first thing that comes to mind, whether be it in school, at home, or wherever you find people working with children. You want to do something that will make the child feel pained. That is why we still have arguments, when we talk in general fora or forum. When we talk in a general forum, especially amongst parents, you will hear all kinds of suggestions when it comes to children getting it wrong, or children needing a brain reset. Parents will say, when you whoop them, spare the rod and all of that, because most often the first thing that comes to mind when we think about children going wrong, the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about consequences is, what do you do to make the child feel the pain of their foolishness? Okay. And usually we will refer to the scripture that says, spare the rod and spoil the child. But today we want to have some sort of a debate, if you like. Okay, why natural consequences trump or is better than the logical consequences. Logically, you would think, if this child has been told to do something 5 times, 6 times, 8 times, and the child is not doing it, the next thing is that you show them or give them something that will make them afraid of that thing the next time, of not doing that thing the next time, right? But the challenge with this approach is that usually we just get children to be afraid. So that is what we have seen in our generation, especially, right? So for most of us African children, that is what you have. That's how we were raised. We were raised where most often we didn't do the things that we didn't do the things that we did not do, or we adhered to certain things, not necessarily because we understood the why, not necessarily because our moral standards were upright. It was more like out of fear. You knew what would come to you if you did that thing wrong. And most often it's the pain that will come to you, the beating, the punishment, all of that will come to you. So that's why you find out that even as adults, right? Even as adults, you see many of us in workplaces, in our businesses, in places of our where we're supposed to be responsible. You realize that as soon as there is no one watching, as soon as there is no one, there's no eminence, right? As soon as there's no eminent punishment that will come to you, right, you notice that people do not do the right thing. And I'm not talking about just children, I'm talking about adults. Yes, I'm talking about adults, parents of children, right? How you find out that people don't do the right thing except there is some huge consequence that will come to them, right? So that's why you go to certain workplaces and you realize the attitude to work is negative, the attitude to work is nothing to write home about, because there is no eminent, consequence that will come to you. That's the same reason why you see people break traffic rules, simply because we are not in a system where, as soon as you break that rule or break those rules, you will get the consequence immediately. So I bet you, if some of the things that we do around here, if it was obvious or it was certain that as you do this, you will get certain consequences like instantly. You know, the way it is, abroad, I mean, in some countries where as you beat the lights, I mean, a ticket will be waiting for you. It's a matter of, it's a matter of days or something like that. Your ticket will come. So you realize that, many people just do the right thing because you don't want that, but that's not what it's supposed to be. All right, that's not what it's supposed to be. And that's not how, or the kind of mindset or conviction that we want to start passing down to our children today. Right, we want to help our children see the reason why they should act a certain way. We want to help them see that in life there are natural consequences, there are natural outcomes that, I mean, there are outcomes that will show up as a result of the choices that we make. So the earlier we get children to see this, the better actually, or the earlier we get them to start thinking their actions through. One of the reasons why we see children who are entitled, one of the reasons why we have children who are entitled, children who are outrightly, lazy in some cases, right? We don't want to call the child lazy, but that's as in reality. I mean, you're not saying this directly to the child, but that's it. Some of the reasons why we get children who do not want to try, children who do not want to try new things, do not want to push, children who lack resilience, and patience and all that, is because we do not start early to teach them with this attitude. I mean, we don't start early to teach them about consequences, as in them being natural, right? We don't start teaching them that the choices that they make will affect the outcomes of their life. So the moment we understand these things as parents and why it is important that children are raised to understand these things as early as possible, then we would understand the need to model right and to have these conversations about the consequences of their actions. Natural consequences are life's gentle teachers, right? So they are life's gentle teacher that allow us experience the outcomes of our choices or our decisions. So natural consequences on their own are teachers. They are natural teachers that would teach young children, right? That outcome is a result of our choices. So the choice that you make today would determine the outcome that you get today, tomorrow, or in the future. Now, when children understand this, then they know, or they begin to realize that I may not get that negative results right now, but it will come, or it could come, much later or in my future. So now, when children can think of their choices and their decisions in that way, then you realize they begin to put more thoughts into the things that they do. That's where we are teaching them to make informed choices. We are teaching them to think their thoughts through before they get into them. Choices, when we give them natural choice, consequences, or allow them go through natural choices, especially in an environment that is loving, an environment that is safe. What we have done is we have taught them to make choices not from a place of fear, but from a place of understanding. They see and they know what the outcome would be. So, therefore, they go with this choice because they want an outcome that is this way. All right. It's not that they are going to stay away from that thing because they are afraid of what the outcome would be. Now, the thing with that is, if the outcome is punishment that they will get from a certain person, for instance, or punishment that they will get from a certain location, it means that when they are not around that person, or when that person is removed from the dynamics, then the child will make a different choice, or the child will go a different way from the choice that they made when fear was when fear was the motivation. Do you get? Now, it also means that if in this location right now, if I do this, I will get into a certain kind of trouble because of my location. What it means is that when the person or the child is not in that location anymore, the child would do that thing, whether it is right or wrong, because now the fear factor has been removed. Now, that is not a way to raise a child. We don't want to raise children where it is the fear factor that is the motivation for doing the right thing. So it means that when that fear factor it does not exist anymore, the child will do anything they like, right? And this is what we have in many of our homes. Many of our homes where our children act differently when the parents are not around, or when a certain parent is not around. They're totally different people from when that person is around. So it is why you will hear things like, oh, children pretend. In school, they're a different person. At home, they're a different person. No, they don't pretend. They do not pretend. The fear factor is just, it could just be that at home, you are a certain way, and they do the things they do at home because they are afraid of you. And so when they get to school, where you, who happens to be the fear factor, is removed from the dynamics, then you will see the true person, because now the fear factor does not exist anymore. So when we go, the school probably calls you to say your child has done ABC. And then you go there, you're like, oh, he's not like that. Oh, I know my child. He doesn't do this. He's not like that. The truth is, or the question is, do you really know your child? Or you know the one that the child portrays simply because the child is afraid of what you could do to them. All right. So it's not sustainable. That's what we're trying to say. All right. So those logical consequences are not sustainable, right? They are not long term. They are not sustainable. They do not build the character of our children. Many of us, even as adults, we talk today and we brag about, we are the way we are. We turned that right simply because of all of those punishments and the things that our parents meted, right? And we actually use that, as some sort of a bragging right, and we say, oh, that's how we turned out. Are you sure that that's why? Are you sure that, first of all, that we even turned out right? That's number one. Then number two, are you sure that if you had a different situation altogether, you wouldn't have turned out even better? So this is food for thoughts, right? These are food for thoughts, and we want to go back and think about it, right? How just maybe, if why am I saying just maybe? All right, for you that thinks, you turned out right because your parents were strict, they beat you, they gave you terrible consequences and all of that, you may want to just sit down and do like real deep dive and see if maybe perhaps if there were a little more, about natural consequences, you probably would have understood more, or even earlier, why you had to make certain, kind of choices or decisions, right? Basically. And the truth about it is, when we look deeply, we will see that the benefits of, allowing children go through natural consequences are so many and so huge. So let's look at a few of them, even in the next 15 minutes before we go off. So number one, natural consequences will build inner discipline. Yes, when we allow children go through natural discipline, what we do is, we do not just build someone who is disciplined on the outside, or look or feels like they are disciplined. We do not just raise people who are disciplined at certain times and not at certain times. We don't raise people who are disciplined in certain situations or in certain locations and not in the other. We raise children who are disciplined from inside. And so this becomes default. And that way you can hit your chest and say, I know that this child, is not this child is not like that, or this child will make a different choice from this one, when, for instance, you find the child in certain trouble, right? There are certain children, as a teacher, I say this, there are certain times you come into your classroom and there's a situation, or you come into your classroom and there's a situation, and You're not there and you can't tell what exactly happened. But knowing the children that are involved, right, you can guess. I mean, looking at the situation or whatever it is on ground, you can guess which of the kids in the class would probably have been in that whole situation or been a part of that situation, just simply because, just simply because of, because you know them. Do you understand? Simply because you know them. So some children have this, I mean, this discipline, right, that is built from the inside. Some children, if it's follow come, right? So it's follow come. You know that these are things that have been, ingrained in them right from home. So you can just simply tell, right, that okay, this one is probably not the one that must have done this, and all that. It gives you a place to start from, right, while you're trying to, deal with the situation, right? Could be in your classroom, could be in your home, and all of that. It's called knowing your learner. It's called knowing your learner, whether it's your child or, a child in your classroom, and all of that. So when we raise children with natural consequences, we actually raise children who will build inner discipline. Okay, they will build inner discipline because now they know what it means, right? They know what it means to, go through the outcome of their choices. All right. So this kind of children do not do things for compliance. They don't do things for compliance and they are not driven by fear. Right. Now, if you look at the story of Adam and Eve, when Adam and Eve, went against God's instructions and all of that, God didn't come like throw down a storm, he didn't come like Thor, break the ground so that they fall in and all of that. He just allowed them go through the natural consequences. Okay, you couldn't obey instructions in this garden. You couldn't do the right thing in this garden. It's really very simple. You would now leave the garden, right? You don't deserve it. You didn't act like you deserved to be here. So if you couldn't take care of this space, if you couldn't do the right thing in this space, it's okay. You will just have to move from here and go somewhere else since you can't be here. And in the new place you're going, these are the things that you will have to deal with. You will have to till the ground yourself. You will have to do this. You will have to do that. And so basically, those were natural consequences, and they went through it, like that. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about natural consequences, right? They do not force the children to do things from a place of fear. The children don't do it because they want to be compliant. That's what logical consequences would do. Oh, you have done this today, and then the punishment is they beat you, and all of that. So the next time you want to do it, right, you either hide and you lie about it. That's how we actually raise children who start lying. So you will find out that in homes where the consequences are usually logical, in homes where the consequences are usually punishment, quote and unquote, tendency is you will raise children who are more likely to lie than in homes where consequences are natural, because now the child has to outsmart you, right? So the child still does that thing with the hope of outsmarting you so that you don't get to know that they did it. Or when the child finds themselves in a place where you are not present, then the child does it because now they know that you won't get to know. All right, so that's it. But with natural consequences, the child understands, and its chances are the child becomes even disciplined right from inside. All right, number two is it promotes reflection. Natural consequences will promote reflection. It will allow the child, and that's how it goes really. If you don't even know how to give natural consequences are given, and the person is allowed to reflect on their actions and the consequences of those actions. So in giving natural consequences, you allow the child think, or go back and think, about what they have done. So for instance, we will say to our children, right, you are upset right now and you are throwing a big tantrum. I would like you to just go and sit in the reflection corner by yourself. You don't have to, it's not punishment, you know. Just go and sit and think about the choice that you have made, right? Go and sit down and think about the choice that you have made, you know, and then let's have a conversation about it. What you have done is you have invited the child to reflect. In fact, just today, right? Just today, this morning, the kids were running late for school. And of course, you know, I mean, because we have natural consequences that come with that. Okay. I'll talk about that at some point if we have time. Right. So, because we have this, right? They were rushing. I mean, of course, the natural thing is because you know that you're about to get late, they started rushing, you know, they started rushing, and two of them bumped in each other and bumped into each other. And our daughter was trying to find out from our son, and she was asking him to do something, you know, and the way he responded to her, like really very harshly and all that. At that point, I said, you know something, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Stop with the rush. Go sit down somewhere, right? It was just about 7 o'clock, right? Go sit down somewhere for about 5 minutes, cool off, think about the kind of response that you are giving out right now and what the problem is. Is this person your problem? Go and think about it and then come back and ask better if you can. You know, so when you do that, you give them a chance to reflect, you give them a chance to look at, you know, the choices that they are making, right, and reflect about it, you know, basically. And it's actually a good way to get people to think about their actions and how those actions affect other people or probably even harm other people. Very, very important. In the story of the Bible of Jonah, right, when Jonah ran away, and you know, when Jonah ran away and he encountered that storm, you know, and all of that, finding himself in the belly of the shark was a natural consequence, isn't it? It was a natural consequence. God didn't have to come and beat him, and you know, I mean, you got yourself in that situation, and now look at you. So finding himself in that, I mean, you can imagine the kind of reflection, you can imagine the kind of thoughts that went through his mind while he was in the belly of the shark and all of that, you know. And so when he found himself safe eventually, you know, he reflected on all of that and he repented on his own. That's because consequences or natural consequences will force you to think about your action. Okay, it will help you to think about your action. I mean, in the first one, we're talking about inner discipline. I mean, in our everyday life, right, our children would do something wrong. For instance, your child fails to do their homework. They fail to do their homework. Now, what do you do? Rather than call the teacher to make excuses for our children, because that's what a lot of us do, you put them in the car, you scold them, you get angry with them, and all of that. And then you are the same one that will call the teacher and ask for, please don't be angry. Okay, I will get him to do it at home today. He will bring it tomorrow. Please don't be angry. So, what was the point in all of that shouting and screaming when you are going to go ahead and save the child? So, rather than do that, allow the child go to school. You didn't do your homework. I'm sure your teacher will have something to say about that. Why don't you go to school and, you know, face your teacher? Right. So the child will go knowing that nobody's going to save him. The child will go knowing that nobody, and you remember to add to them, don't lie and don't say anything that is not, because if your teacher if your teacher calls me, I am going to tell them what it is. So you leave the home knowing. In fact, sometimes even say to them, when you're done with your teacher, tell your teacher it's okay to call me. So that's where you have eliminated any avenue for lying. Just go there and tell your teacher the way it is. I'm sorry, Miss Marlene. I always use Miss Marlene. I'm sorry, Miss Marlene. I totally forgot. I'm sorry, Miss Marlene. I did not manage my time. I didn't manage myself well. And that's why I didn't do my homework. I'm really very sorry. If you don't mind, I would put in I would do it today and all of that. And whatever consequence comes with it, I would understand why I have to go through that consequence. Basically, when you do that, you're teaching the child to be disciplined on their own, even without you. Very, very important. Very, very important when we do this. Okay, allow children go through those consequences and build discipline, right, on their own, just through the lessons of natural consequences. Number three, Consequences, or allowing children go through natural consequences, will build trust between you, the parent, and the child. It will help you build trust with your child when you let them go through consequences. Now, especially when you do this without shaming the child, right? You don't shame the child, you don't lose it completely with the child. You are just able to say, I need you to sit down there and think about what it is that you have done. I mean, what are our values? Who are we? Does this thing you have done, does it represent you? What you're doing is you're allowing the child reflect. You are reminding the child of who they are. You are saying to the child, I know you, and this isn't like you. You are better than this. I mean, this action, you're better than this action. And hey, of course, I know there are times that we make mistakes. So I want you to think about where you went wrong. I want you to think about the choice that you made that landed you right here. So when we do this, we allow children to reflect on their own. We allow them to face their mistakes as part of their learning process. We allow children to own their mistakes without feeling ashamed. It is their mistake, it's not them. So we need to dissociate mistakes from the human being, okay? So that we don't go, you are never able to, you're never this. No, allow them, look at it that way. So when we do this, the child can trust us. So when they make mistakes, they come back to us. They're not afraid to share with us their mistakes. They're not afraid to cry to us first when they've made mistakes. They're not afraid to tell you about their mistakes. So a lot of times when what goes after the mistake is shame, especially when, I mean, for some of us, we say, oh, we don't beat them, we don't shame them. But you are the same one that is constantly, I am disappointed in you. I think you do that with such deep, they can almost see how pained you are. So the next time, they don't enjoy disappointing you, especially when you have children who, you have raised with good standards. They don't enjoy disappointing you. So rather than see you in that sober look of, you have disappointed me, they will lie, or they will simply not mention it to you. So if you're going to raise a child who will trust you, who will come to you with their problems, then you need to make mistakes something that they can go through, and go through on their own, with you saying to them, you are more than this, and I know you can do better than this. So I want you to trace your mistake or what you did wrong, so that you can change that, or so that you can correct it. This one is very important, and this is what the prodigal, that this is what the father did with his prodigal son. Right? The prodigal son, this was exactly what happened. When he came back, the father was there with his arms open to, receive him. What a secure attachment. What a secure attachment that child would have felt. In fact, it was that secure attachment that made the child say, you know something, I'm going to pack my bag and go back to my father, because he knew that the father that he knows will be there to welcome him. He did not have 1 ounce of fear that his father was going to accept him. But he was just there like, okay, at this point, I don't even deserve you. I don't deserve you. So if I go there, even if part of my consequence will be to be amongst the lowest servants, I am willing to do it. So this is what we're talking about when we talked about inner discipline. It's the same thing we're talking about when we talk about reflection. The child is able to reflect. There's an inner discipline that says, something, I don't even have to go back as his son. I don't even have to go back at that high level. I can go back and be one of the servants, because the person has reflected. The person has looked at it. This man is good. He was good to me, and I failed him. So it's not that place of, you have to hide. If you know how a lot of us in our generation, we've practically, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, you are practically still ashamed to come to your 60, to your 80, 70, 80, 90-year-old parents the way you are, because of how much they shamed you, because of how much, how much or how they didn't allow you fail. So even in your 40s and 50s, you are still afraid to come to your 80-year-old father. You come to your 70-year-old mother looking like someone who has failed. So you go through life and your parents think they know you. Meanwhile, they don't share in a single one of your pain, your struggles, or your failures, because they didn't raise a child that is connected to them, without fear, knowing that their mistakes is not, or your mistake is not you. So very important that we allow trust by, allowing our children go through natural consequences. We have just about a minute or so to go, and so I'm going to be sharing the last, reason why natural consequences are better than logical consequences or punishments, if we like to say. And this one is to prepare. I mean, natural consequences will prepare our children for real life. Yes, it will prepare them for real life. And then we were talking about, building trust and all of that. Your child decides he doesn't want to wear a particular jacket. It is cold and he decides to go without a jacket because he wants to show his shirt. It's okay. Let him go. When the cold starts, allow him. I mean, allow him. That's a choice that you make. Enjoy and all that. Yeah. But we will argue, we will get angry, but we will run and go and get the jackets for the child. So it's two things. You either go back home and stay at home. Now that it has become so cold, I'm not going to give you my jackets. All right. So you have the option of going back home, right? Or just stay without it because you made a choice. So these are natural consequences that will make our children understand, this is the reality. All right. So the next one is it prepares them for real life, right? When David got foolish with Bathsheba, that was, I mean, he understood what real life was about. He understood what real life was about because he made a choice. So this is it. Our children make choices. Let us allow them go through those consequences. My children just came back. I mean, we had midterm break the whole of last week and they were home the whole time. And of course, today they woke up. I mean, you would think that after resting for a whole 5 days plus 2 extra days of the weekend, and all of that, you would think they would jump right into it and be out at the appropriate time. But no. So the kids will usually leave the house at 7 o'clock and they have a grace of 10 minutes to leave at 7:10 with their dad that who drops them in school. School is just about 1.5 kilometers away from the house. A 12 minutes walk thereabout. So yes, you don't have to stress it if that is going that way and he can drop you. However, if at 10 minutes after 7 you are not ready, it means that you didn't want the ride. The ride was not important to you. You wanted to take a walk, which is just fine, right? You want to take a walk in the morning, which is just fine, you know, and all that. So gladly grab your bag and head out because it's just the natural consequence. You were not early enough to join the person that is going that way. So it's just okay. You find your way yourself. It's just a 12 minutes or at the most 15 minutes walk to your school. If you leave the house at 7:20 because you couldn't leave with him at 7:10, you will still get there at 7:35. Beautiful time, you know. And so that looked and I'm like, go. They are not ready. Go. I talked about how they start bumping on each other, trying to rush. I'm like, relax, don't do that. Relax, don't do that. You rush at the beginning, not at the end. Because when you rush at the end, you make a mess. You bump into people. You make a mess of things. You lose things. You get angry. You talk. You start getting nasty. Don't do that. Relax. You're not going to go with him already. It's okay. Just relax and take your time and gather momentum for the work. I was even going to the gym that way. So I could be your walking companion because I was going to walk to the gym anyway. And that's it. And that's it. By the time I came out, I went to wear my sneakers and I came out, my daughter was gone already. And I'm like, why her brother's like, she's gone already. She's gone already because she knows the drill. She knows the drill. And then he left also. So I was the last one that was coming behind them because I was the one that had to lock the door and all of that. And that's it. After a whole midterm, my children walk to school today because it's a choice that they made. And in that choice, nobody was fighting, nobody was angry, nobody was, any of those things because it was a natural consequence, something we agreed on, and it just played out based on that. Give me a second, please. All right, sorry about that. So basically, this is it. So when we allow children go through more natural consequences like this, we help them understand life. We help them see through, the reality of life. It doesn't matter how rich, how wealthy. It doesn't matter how much longevity you have as a parent. There is a point that will come in the life of your child that you cannot take. You can't take the consequences for them. There is a time that your child will get that even if you like, you couldn't stand in the gap. You couldn't take, the blow for them. So why are you not allowing them prepare for such a time in their lives? Because that time will come, and life is what it is. We've seen, life is what it is now. So it's not a function of how wealthy you are. It's not a function of how big you are. It's not a function, even for children whose parents are royals and all of that, there are consequences of this life that you will still take. Isn't that Prince Andrew, for crying out loud, that has been stripped of all his royal titles and privileges and all of that? But he's a royal now. He should go through life and do life as he wishes, even for the richest people, even for the richest people. And that's us looking at it from a material place. But the truth about it is the reality of life is not, it's not determined, by just riches and all of that. There are certain consequences that will hit you, no matter your title, no matter who you are. So the earlier we start allowing our children understand responsibility, consequences, and of course consequences as a fallout of the choices that they have made, the better. So at the end of this argument, or at the end of this, debate, I hope that I've been able to convince you that natural consequences are always better than logical consequences. Most times, those logical consequences, the satisfaction from them is for you, the person who is doling out, those consequences. It's you. He did this. I gave him this, and it pained him. You are the one who feels good. You are the one who it's for your pleasure, right? It's not exactly for the lessons. And as I said, if the lesson is driven by fear of one person or one situation or one location or one condition, then it's not sustainable. Because when that dynamic is removed, that one person is removed, that one situation is removed, that one location, or the person moves from that location, then the person throws whatever, whatever it is, they throw caution in the air, because now the consequence cannot hold them back anymore. So no, the motivation should not be, the fear or the pain that will come from the action. The motivation should be that this is the right thing to do. Thank you very much for joining me today. Are you a parent of the mastermind, in the mastermind circle? Were you able to register your child to be a part of the mastermind circle? We just closed registration for our 1 year cohort, full year cohort of the circle a few days ago. But hey, there is good news. You can get your child on board our half-year cohort. Yes, we have a half-year cohort that is not just 6 months, but 8 months. Yes, 8 good months. Your child can still join us in the mastermind circle if they weren't able to join our full-year cohort, because right now we have shut down the cohort and we're not taking people anymore because we don't want the child to be confused. Now we are focused on the children, working with them, holding their hands, offering them guidance, support, accountability, cheering them on, and all of that. So yes, we have moved on with the children. Amazing, amazing. I know we have quite a number of them, so we are up and we are moving. All right, but your child you can still book a slot for your child, your 5 to 10 year olds, to join us. All right, and so that cohort begins in January, so it's just 4 months, and you are in again. So you can book a slot right away, because we have a fixed number that we're going to be taking for the half year cohorts. We do that every year. Fixed number, we get that number and then we shut down. But the good part, as I said, is it's not for 6 months, it's for a whole 8 months, right? Because the mastermind circle is from September to the end of August the next year. So if your child comes in January, they will go through a 6 weeks foundation, goal setting, planning, and emotional intelligence training. Robust 6 weeks training on setting goals, creating, using signature tools to create their goals, and a way of monitoring their goals and all of that. So yes, your child should be a part of this. Thank you for joining me today. I will be here again at 5 o'clock tomorrow with episode 9, and we will be rounding up on Wednesday with episode 10. Thank you for joining me. Have a blessed rest of the evening. If you have questions, please share with us in the comments, and share with us also what you've learned from the session. Thank you. Have a blessed evening. Bye. Bye.